Well, good morning, everybody. It's Monday, the 18th of June. How about that? I got that right. Actually, I wrote it down, so I cheated. The weekends are fun, aren't they? You get to do whatever you want to, hopefully, unless you work on the weekends. Hope everybody had a nice Father's Day. The children in the concentration camps didn't, but, you know, it even took... Even Laura Bush got involved and wrote an op-ed in Washington Post yesterday talking about how this isn't who we are and you can't traumatize children this way. So let me make sure this is up here. Not quite. There we go. So I was thinking about this weekend about how empaths must be faring during all of this. We tend to feel things, you know. I mean, being an empath can involve other kinds of abilities as well, but generally speaking, you feel the emotions of others. You also may sense the thoughts of others, but generally speaking, it begins in emotion. The whole universe, the whole world, whole existence is emotion based. So essentially, empaths may be picking up and absorbing and feeling the terror of these kids, you know, to read that they can't, that workers in these places aren't permitted to pick up crying babies. How do you not pick up a crying baby? I mean, so if you're an empath and you're having a difficult time, so am I. We all are. And it's just going to have to be something that we're going to have to collectively send protective white light to these kids, try to counteract whatever you're feeling, you know, acknowledge it and then turn it around and send protective white light to these kids. They need it until this whole mess is resolved. I just never thought, you know, after what we did to our Japanese family, you know, and we had our own internment camps here in this country. I mean, can you believe in the United States that that happened? Well, yeah, because, you know, you can see the tent city being built down there now in Texas, and we've got politicians that are going down there now, lawmakers that are going down there now to these places. And, you know, how about some former presidents going down there? You think if some of them showed up en masse, I mean, there's not that many of them left, you know. You know, a little road trip to one of these places, go knock on the door, say, hi, can we come in? Are they going to tell them no? Like they try to tell Congress people? Maybe they should go. What do you think? See for themselves what's happening in our name. So, well, let's see what the cards have to say. There's 13. I went back to the Rider-Waite because I have trouble with lighting. Like today it's not sunny out, so I can have the blind open on the door. So I get a little light here. Otherwise, the lighting's really weird. And I think the Morgan Greer one is just a little bit too dark. Well, you know, maybe we're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel here because we have the 10 of Cups and we see a rainbow. So we've got some hope there. And we've got mom and dad and the kids, and maybe we'll see some reunification here. Maybe this policy that is happening, you know, by this particular administration, even though they want to blame the last one, it's just not true. Maybe this will end this week. Maybe there's enough uproar from the world, basically. The trauma, the psychological trauma that we're doing to these kids, that's going to follow the United States forever, folks. Yeah. So this is not who we are. We don't do this to children, although apparently we do. But this isn't what we want to be doing. So we want to create this world here. So the 10 of Cups, yeah, this is where we need to be. So we'll see what else this says. 10 reduces to 1 numerologically, so we're talking new beginnings. But there's something that I wrote down here, and I wanted to make sure it was on this one, and it is. This is about contentment, joy, happiness, desired outcome. One of the things in the Course in Miracles is a notion of I need do nothing. And if you stop and you think about it, obviously that's not the case here because we need to do something. But this need to manipulate and control, that's what it's talking about. And that's what this particular regime that we have in power now is trying to do. They're trying to control all of this in a way that is manipulative. So if you come here and you knock on the door and say, I want to come in, we're going to call you a criminal. We're going to separate you from your kids. We're going to take your kids away from you. You're never going to see them again. We're going to go take and give them a bath. 20 minutes later, you're going to say, where's my son? Well, you're never going to see your son again. How does that happen? So if we understand that we are all one and that the focus is simply to preserve that unity, then all of the choices that we make do that, right? And so you need do nothing. There's nothing that we need to be worrying about, really, you know? And we certainly don't need to be worried about people trying to come here for a better life. I realize, you know, immigration is an issue in any country. It is. You have to figure out how you're going to, you know, manage all of it so that resources in the country are preserved and can be there for everyone who needs them. You know, you can't tax things that way so much that you can't, but at the same time, you have to allow for new people to come into your country. Sometimes there's not a, you know, they live in an unsafe environment. So they need to be able to come where they can be safe and happy and joyful and have something positive for their life and their family, for their children. So basically, either we're at the beginning of something here that's going to resolve this issue, you know, hopefully, hopefully that's what this is saying. Let's see what the rune says and see if it can give us just a little more clarity to see if in fact we are heading in that direction. Normally I look at tarot from an internal standpoint, but my goodness, you know, to think that this isn't affecting all of us internally. I mean, it should be, shouldn't it? I know when it just seems like this is all about manipulation to get what someone wants. You know, he wants that wall. So we're going to take the kids away to get that wall. Well, I don't think so. Well, look at this. So we have Kenaz today. Kenaz is the torch. It's the rune of openings. and it's going to light our way. So either we're going to see some resolution here shortly on this, and we're going to see these families reunited, or there's going to be a whole lot more people shedding light on what's going on here. Kenaz is the 6th rune of the Elder Futhark. It's a fire element rune. It represents the witch's power to know. It is about healing and well-being and stability. And again, it's the rune of openings. It also awakens leadership skills and creativity. So maybe it will awaken the leadership skills of some folks in this country so they can stop this guy from doing what he's doing. I don't know. They better do something. It basically transforms our creative energies into something positive and enlightening. We need to shine a light on what is going on here. So that is what Kenaz is doing. And if you can kind of see that, it kind of looks like a flashlight, right? And the light you know, going out there for all to see. All right. So it reveals secrets. I think we're going to find out that things aren't always what they seem here, that there's more to this story of why they're doing what they're doing. I think that it's pretty clear what's happening, and we can just decide we don't really care why they're doing it. We just need it to stop, right? Or maybe we're just going to have a little bit of an awakening within if we're maybe not quite sure about this. We think, well, then just don't come to this country. Sure, you can look at it that way, but when you're somebody who's in one of these lesser developed countries where there's a lot of war or unrest or gang violence or whatever's going on that's causing families to want to flee, because that's what this is. They're fleeing, all right? It's not like they're like, let's go take a vacation to the US and just not come back. No, these are families that are risking everything to come here. They just want a better life. So don't you think they'd be motivated to be, to become a really productive part of this country? I would think so. This is what this is what the United States was to begin with. So maybe I just lost that there. Hope I didn't lose the picture too. I don't think so. I lost my screen. I don't really know how to use my Mac too well yet. I switched from a PC to a Mac. I got tired of the viruses. So, but what we've got here is maybe there's going to be an awakening within all of us. I read the op-ed out loud last night that Laura Bush wrote. I read it out loud to my husband, and when I got down to the lower part, to the bottom part of it, she's talking about her mother-in-law Barbara. And when George H.W. was in office, the AIDS crisis was happening. It started, I believe, under Reagan, and I think that's about the time it all started. But what Barbara did is there was a place for a little hospital or a little place, clinic or something, I don't know what it was, for AIDS babies. And of course she called them, and what Laura called them and reminded me that they were called was the untouchables. You couldn't touch them. So when I got to that part, the tears were flowing and I could hardly even get through it, because Barbara went there and she held those babies and loved them. And I mean, these babies that you weren't supposed to touch because, oh my goodness, they had a dreaded disease. You're going to get it if you touch these babies. Well, that's ridiculous. We all know that, right? Well, back then, everyone operated on fear. Well, not everyone, obviously. And now we hear, and Laura referenced this in the inner opinion piece, that staff aren't allowed to hold the crying babies and the crying children, that they're just supposed to suffer. How much more do we have to learn before we do something? Is this what the people who voted for this guy thought would happen? That we would terrorize little children this way? Is this what they voted for? Because if they did, I don't want to know them. I don't want to know people like that. I can't believe we have the people in office that are doing this. I watched our Attorney General literally smile and almost get excited talking about this. I mean, he kind of bobs up and down, kind of, when he does it. It's like he quotes Bible scripture, which I know very little of, but apparently other people do. And I guess Twitter exploded this weekend with Bible quotes. It's like, you're going to quote the Bible? You're going to say the Bible says to this, that we should be doing this? No. I don't know the Bible that well, but I'm going to bet everything I own that it doesn't. So let's not turn this or craft this into something. Craft the narrative and take pieces of here and there and and create a narrative that fits and supports this cruel treatment of these kids. You know, any other country, we'd be screaming about crimes against humanity, human rights abuses. No need to take these kids away from their parents. If you don't want to let them in the country, then send them home. Make them turn around and go back, if that's what you want to do. If you don't want to observe the typical amnesty process, or not amnesty, but asylum process, if you don't want to observe that and let them apply for asylum and do what they need to do, then send them home. But don't take their babies from them. Don't traumatize these kids. What you're doing in our name is so bad. You're not going, we won't recover from it. The harm you're doing to all of us. You know, I opened this thing today about empaths. You know, empaths know the harm that's being done. We feel it. It's like this blanket that just sort of settles over me of emotion and fear and maybe we're going to awaken today. Huh? And we're going to let this happen because this needs to happen. Paul Ryan said in a tweet that he's so happy to celebrate Father's Day. I'm paraphrasing, of course, with his kids. I'm happy for you, man. I really am. Glad you had that. What about those babies that you won't let anyone hold? Can you imagine that? Crying toddlers and no one to hold them, but the other kids that are there. Yeah, that's not. Let's hope this happens today. Let's focus on this and cast this intention that this happened today. And let's reunite these families, all right? So, thank you so much for watching. And hopefully, we'll have some happier things to talk about here before we know it. Like maybe by the end of the day, people will come to their senses. And if not, then we're going to keep talking about it, aren't we? Until we do. All right. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow, and blessed be.